And what the Hizmet movement has done is that they have taken the universal aspect of Islam and reinstilled it once again in the general conversation of people. That the Muslims are actually standing for some of the most important universal values that are shared by everyone. Where the education system is not. Because of this, they're suspicious of Muslims. I am Munib Nasser. I am the president of Olive Tree Foundation, which is a charitable foundation that supports good works in Canada. I'm also the managing editor of an online magazine website called Iqra.ca, which promotes inter-community dialogue and interfaith dialogue as well. And I'm also a freelance writer on a number of publications. Well, the Hizmet movement is a movement of service for the common good of humanity. And the activities of Hizmet are quite impressive. You know, one of the things about Hizmet is that they exemplify some of the excellent aspects of their faith tradition. And one of the aspects that they exemplify, and is quite impressive, is the focus on selflessness, on altruism, on giving of oneself, selfless giving of oneself, and we find this in the volunteers of Hizmet, that they selflessly give of themselves for the services that they're engaged in. And this is quite important actually in today's world, where the world is focused on selfishness and on individualism. So, you know, the Hizmet movement promotes selfless giving of oneself, this altruistic conduct. And this is quite, quite commendable. The other aspects of the Hizmet movement and their work in interfaith dialogue, in education, in humanitarian aid, is that they do their work with a high level of excellence. You know, most of the volunteers that I've interacted with, they engage in their activities with a high degree of excellence, which is one of the key core components of their faith tradition of Islam, that whatever we do it with excellence. They're also some of the most hospitable and giving people that I've met over the years in this community. Fethullah Gulen Hoji Effendi is undoubtedly one of the most important Muslim religious leaders in the world today. You know, he's inspired millions of followers in Turkey and around the world. He's inspired them to engage in activities that promote communal harmony, that promote relationships between people, regardless of faith. He's inspired a movement that educates children around the world, and he's inspired a movement that has also engaged in humanitarian work, providing relief for people around the world who are in need. But one of the most important aspects of the Hizmet movement and Fethullah Gulen is that he is able to reconcile his faith tradition with modernity. And I think this is one of the greatest contributions that he has made, is that he has shown that Muslims are comfortable with the modern world. He has shown that Islam is compatible with modernity. And he has shown that Muslims are not only compatible with modernity, but they are active citizens and contributing to the good of their societies. But one of the most interesting aspects of the teachings of Fethullah Gulen is, and this is one of the most core principles in the religion of Islam, is that he teaches his followers to have purity of intention and to have sincerity in everything that they do. And this purity of intention and sincerity is one of the first principles in the religion of Islam. And he teaches his followers that, you know, if you engage in any activity, you do it with purity of intention, not expecting any gain or reward. Because if you do, it devalues the work that you're doing. And it devalues your reward, both in this world and in the hereafter. And I think this is a very important principle of the Hizmet movement that he teaches. And I think this is the reason that the works of Hizmet has reached with success, because it is done with a sincerity, with purity of intention. I think what the Hizmet movement has done is it has taken Islam away from dogma to the actual values of Islam. It has restored the universal aspect of Islam in the minds of people. Because most people today, when they see Islam, they think in negative terms. They don't think of the universal values. They don't think of Islam as being a universal religion. And what the Hizmet movement and Fethullah Gulen has done is that he has taken the values of Islam and projected it into the world. You know, because today most people, when they look at Islam, they think only of very dogmatic statements. They only think of Islam as being for the Arabs or for the Turkish people or for the South Asian people. They don't see it as for them. And what the Hizmet movement has done is that they have taken the universal aspect of Islam and reinstilled it once again in the general conversation of people. That the Muslims are actually standing for some of the most important universal values that are shared by everyone. I think the Hizmet movement is unique in the sense that it has connected service to faith. It has connected one's faith and nurturing of one's faith through service, which is quite different than most other religious or social movements in the world. It has actually captured one of the principles in the religious tradition of Islam, that one has to believe and do good works. But it is also said, the Hizmet movement and Fethullah Gulen actually in his teachings has said that you can only nurture your faith by engaging in good works. I think this is a major contribution of the Hizmet movement. The other thing that distinguishes it is that it's focused on compassion and empathy. Compassion and empathy, because empathy is essential for any activity that's done across religions. And I think this is a distinguishing feature of the Hizmet movement, that it focuses on compassion and empathy, because it means giving of oneself, being empathetic, caring for other people, which many of the other social movements do not focus on these aspects in their works. I think the most important contribution, especially in the West, especially in North America and in Canada, has been the interfaith and the intercultural dialogue. I think this is something that's needed today, especially in the world that we are living in, where there's a lot of conflict, where there's a lot of divisions amongst people, where people are representing their religion using violent means. And the interfaith and intercultural activities of the Hizmet movement has counteracted this. And one of the things and the principles of the Hizmet movement in interfaith and intercultural dialogue is the promotion of common values. And Fethullah Gulen teaches that the common values of love, compassion, tolerance, and forgiveness are the basis of engaging people of other religions. And I think this is very important because he has transformed the activities of interfaith dialogue to be based on common values, values that people of religion and of no religion can relate to. So by promoting the values of love and of compassion, of forgiveness and tolerance, he has actually set a platform on which people can relate to each other. I think this is quite important and probably the most significant contribution I've seen, especially in this country, in Canada, for the promoting of communal harmony. Having dialogue and interaction with people of other faiths is actually an Islamic principle, because God says in the Quran that He has created diversity. He's created diversity in peoples, created diversity in faiths, created diversity in language. And He has said He has done this so that you may get to know each other. In the Quran there's a verse that says, we have created nations and tribes so that you may know each other. So actually this is a core principle in Islam, to establish relationships with people, to establish relationships based on good deeds. But the other important aspect that this question touches is that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him, was sent as a mercy to humanity. And the religion of Islam is a universal religion. This is the belief of Muslims, that the message is universal, it is for everyone. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him, was sent as a witness to humanity. And as Muslims, as followers of the religion of Islam, we are to be witnesses to this mercy and compassion to the world, to witness this message that has been sent by God Almighty to the world. So this is an important aspect that we can engender when we engage people in interfaith dialogue, in intercultural dialogue, in engaging them. But the more important thing as well, and this is a principle of Islam as well, that we cooperate with each other in matters of good. So regardless of what the faith is, regardless of what the religion is, regardless of what the ethnicity is, we cooperate with everyone in matters of good, as well as we cooperate with them in fighting evil. So I think this aspect of interfaith dialogue, engaging with people, is extremely important for Muslims today, because it is only when people know who we are that they respect us, that they trust us. I think one of the difficulties we are having, especially in North America, is that people don't know Muslims. They have not interacted with Muslims. And because of this, they're suspicious of Muslims. And we have to reintroduce this aspect of Islam to say that our presence here today should be a benefit to people, that they should know us, they should know that we are here for the betterment of the society, that we are here to be better citizens, to make the country a better place. The Hizmet movement has distinguished itself, especially in many parts of the world where the educational system is not well established. In parts of Asia, in parts of Africa, they have established schools that have been able to provide education to students who would not have the means of getting education. But not only that, some of the Hizmet schools are the best schools in some of these countries. The other important aspect about the Hizmet schools is their focus on science and math, which is essential today in the world. It's a very competitive world, and the areas of science and math are the areas that would be able to propel students to reach their potential. I think this is an important aspect of the teachings of Fethullah Gulen as well, is that his focus on math and science, which he takes from Badiou Zaman Sayyid Nursi, which is that we need to focus on understanding the world, because the world, the natural world, are actually a revelation from God. And it's only by studying science and math that we understand the natural world, that we're able to understand the other revelation. There's the revelation of the scripture, but there's also the revelation in the natural world. And it is by understanding science and math, by having education, that we're able to read the signs of God, and we become closer to God. The other aspect about the Hizmet schools, which is commendable, is although religion is not a religious school, it teaches values, through the example of the teachers. It is the interaction of the teachers with the students that are able to imbue in themselves high moral values. And this is actually an Islamic tradition, of exemplifying the best moral values in one's tradition, and through example, teaching others. So I think the Hizmet school has been making a tremendous contribution, especially in certain parts of the world where the educational system is not well established. The Hizmet movement, I've seen going into some of the most dangerous regions of the world. Many aid agencies go into the more protected regions of the world, but the Hizmet movement, through their humanitarian aid, has gone into some of the most dangerous areas of the world. And this is quite impressive, because it exemplifies an important aspect of the teachings, I think, of the Hizmet movement of Fethullah Gulen, of empathy. Giving empathy indiscriminately, meaning that you care for others regardless of their condition, regardless of who they are, and the positions that they're in. So this has been an important aspect of their work. It exemplifies this aspect of empathy, caring for other people. I think this is one means for which the Hizmet movement is showing and representing actually the Muslim peoples and the Muslim world, that Muslims care. They care for others regardless of who they are, regardless of the condition they are. They would be willing to go into these areas to provide relief for them. I think the relief work of the Hizmet movement over the last number of years, especially in some of the most dangerous areas, is quite commendable, and it's projecting an aspect of our religion, of Islam, that needs to be known by people, that Muslims are actually caring people, that they would go to the ends of the world to care for others. And I think this aspect of empathy as well as compassion comes through in the works of the humanitarian aid of the Hizmet movement.
Educational institutes, these are as important as water and food. And that's why, as I said earlier, Hizmet movement understand that building a human being is the most difficult.
What I see in the work of Mr. Gulen's followers in Hizmet movement is that philosophy of sharing, of helping each other, of helping those who have less than we do in a very practical way, as an example of a side of Islam that gets forgotten or neglected.